but I wanted to share my story and my journey with advocacy and how it's impacted upon my life, because that's so important to me. It's helped me so much, and obviously I want to share that with you all today. So as I said, I've got numerous complex conditions that are not normally life-limiting, but in my case they will be, due to the complications they've caused. So I'm a bit of a rarity in terms of my conditions, but I do like to be unique. I was born with most of my conditions, but for the first 14 years of my life I didn't realise that what I was going through was not normal. I thought that pain was normal, I thought that dislocations were normal, I thought that what I was going through was what everyone else went through. I didn't realise that the struggles I had were not something that everyone else had. When you grow up with it, how do you know? How do you know you're different? So it wasn't until I was kind of about 10 and I started to struggle more, and then when I was 14 I became a wheelchair user, and age 15 my gut failed, and I've kind of gone on a big journey over the last 9 years. When I first became ill, sadly, I faced a lot of disbelief from the medical profession, which is really hard when you're trying to prove that you're poorly and the very people you turn to for help are saying, there's nothing wrong with you, you're just lazy, your mum's allowing you to be ill. And it was really, really hard. And this is where my first advocate came in. A lovely lady named Mary. She came in and completely made us feel that we were no longer alone, because we'd been fighting on our own. My mum was advocating for me. I was too shy to advocate for myself, and being 14, how do you know what to say and who to say it to? So Mary came in, a mum of 2 disabled daughters herself, and really she ruffled a few feathers, but she got me what I needed. And at the end of the day, you know, we needed that. At that time, we needed someone to come in who knew the system, who knew what was out there, and could say to us, this is what you need, and I'm going to get it for you. And she kind of, through her daughters, one of her daughters has just completed a master's degree. She can't write, she can't use a computer, and she takes 18 hours to do an exam. And through sharing her daughter's journey, it kind of gave me hope that there was a life outside of illness. And she inspired me and showed me how to speak for myself and how to, you know, be my own advocate, I suppose. So I learned through her. She was a role model for me, I suppose. In the early days, when my illness was all I had, she showed me that there was a life outside of my 4 walls and outside of my illness. For a while, when I was first poorly, I taught myself my own curriculum because my school was so unhelpful that I didn't have an education. And obviously not knowing what to teach myself, I just kind of in the dark taught myself what I knew. And then Mary stepped in, she got me an education, and in 2010 I did my GCSEs at home, in bed, with my cat on my lap, and I did really, really well, and she got me into college as well, but after 2 terms I became too poorly to go. And even when I got a diagnosis of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome when I was 15, the medical profession don't understand the condition, so they were still saying that there was nothing wrong with me, which hampered my care a lot. And when I was 16, Mary had to sadly move on, and we lost the one person we had in the first 2 years of my illness that knew what to do and that could help us. And it was again Mum and I on our own in the dark fighting for things that we didn't know were out there, which is very hard if you don't know. When I moved into adult services, it was really not a transition. It was like a big jump into the unknown. I was discharged from paediatric services with no support, and it was again Mum and I fighting on our own. I was too shy to speak for myself. I was very, very shy. And then when I was 17, a hospice came on board, and my hospice nurse acted as an advocate for many years. And again, another role model in my life that showed me how to speak for myself. So slowly but surely, and especially in adult services when you're expected to speak for yourself, I had to speak for myself. Mum wasn't there with me 24/7. And it kind of, my advocates have been big role models in my life, and that's kind of what I want to get across to you today. And this is where my charity work came in. When I was doing my end-of-life plan, I said to my hospice nurse and to my mum, I'm frightened I'll die and that my life won't have meant anything, I'll just be forgotten. My hospice nurse never forget that, and 2 years later, she heard about an opportunity through Together for Short Lives, who were the children's palliative care charity, who needed a young person to give a speech in Parliament. Having never given a speech before, my mum said, oh no, she won't. And I went, no, actually I will. And so we did, and in 2013, in the November, I got up on stage and I gave my speech and ended to a standing ovation. And for someone that's so shy and had never done anything like that before, I wasn't only speaking for me, I was speaking for everybody then, and it changed the course of my life completely. I've done many things since. I'm very fortunate that I've been given a lot of opportunities. I've written forewords, given many speeches. I've been to Parliament, the Department of Health, appeared in documentaries and videos that have been shown at conferences all over the world. And to me, that is so vital because it enables me to make a difference. My life counts, and I can be a voice for other people. So though I don't advocate in the same way you all do, I go to events and bring the patient voice, as a patient myself, to these meetings and say, that's all good and well what you're doing, but if you don't know what the patients want and need, you're not going to get it right. So this is so important to me that I can go to these events and I can say, yes, what you're doing is right, but this is how it's going to impact on patients. Don't forget that patients will want this rather than that. And it's nice for me to make my life count. It's nice for me to be a voice for others. And for my work in this year in the New Year's Honours, I was awarded an MBE for services to young people with disabilities, which at the age of 22 is a huge honour. It's a huge honour. And I was also a Health Service Journal top 50 patient leader in 2015. I don't do it for the recognition, but when someone recognises what you've done, as I know you all must feel, it's so lovely to feel that you've been recognised for the work you do. And that kind of has spurred me on to feel like I am making a difference and I can go on and do more. And sadly, in 2015, our world got turned on our head. For Mum and I fighting on our own for so many years, Mum had learned all these specialist medical techniques to keep me alive and at home. Bearing in mind she's not a nurse. She got diagnosed with a brain tumour and the bottom fell out of our world, especially mine. You know, the person I'd relied on for the 7.5 years of my illness, who'd cared round the clock, who'd learned all these techniques, suddenly couldn't care for me. What was I going to do? Fortunately, a friend of a friend is an advocate herself. She runs a centre for adults with special needs. So she agreed to step in. 3 weeks, we managed to organise a complex 24-hour care package. Well, actually, we'd been fighting for 2.5 weeks on our own. My advocate Jill came on board, and within 2 days, I had a care package. So we got the care package. And that means I have an ITU nurse with me from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m, and a carer then overnight to the night care. But sadly, our life would change yet again when, following her surgery, my mum would suffer a stroke. So this interim care package that was going to be for 6 weeks then became long-term. So again, we had to go through another battle to keep this package that we'd fought so hard to get. And I was told repeatedly over the course of getting these packages, you need to be in a care home. The only one that would take me at the age of 21 was an old people's home. But not only that, you won't be able to see your mum, you won't be able to go out, you won't be able to see your friends, you won't be able to have your assistance dog, and most of all, you won't be able to go to hospital appointments because those are an unnecessary luxury. Not like my life depends on them or anything. And how can you say to a 21-year-old, you're going to be put in an old people's home and you're never going to leave that room for the rest of your life, and expect me to go, OK, that's fine, which I wasn't going to do. But again, my advocate was there. She said, kind of put her foot down and said, that's not going to happen. You know it's not going to happen. And we eventually won this package. My mum, after her surgery, obviously, and after the stroke, she couldn't talk, she couldn't communicate, she couldn't move. She didn't even recognise me. And I've been through some horrific things in my life, but seeing my mum in a hospital bed, combative, completely unaware, and not even knowing who I was, has got to be the worst feeling in the world. But slowly but surely, she regained her movement, her awareness, her speech, and came home 6 weeks later, but life is never going to be the same. It never will. We're different people, my mum's a different person, and we've had to, cope. So even though she came home, which was a huge celebration, we've had to readjust to a new life together. And for Mum, it's hard because she wants to help me, but obviously I've got these nurses and carers because she can't do it all herself. And it's been It's been really hard. And the thing that's good about the advocate I have now is she lets me lead. She doesn't step in unless there's something she needs to add, she needs to reiterate something, or there's something she knows that I've not included. So much as she's there for me and she does advocate for me, she also allows me to lead, which is important to me because it's helping me to have the confidence to do it, but not overbearing or taking control of everything. And she's not medically trained, so she leaves all the medical section to me, but she deals with all the law, the rights, and helps me. But also not only that, she's been there through the whole journey, supporting me. She's been a confidant, she's been a friend, she's let me cry, she's let me scream, she's let me rant, she's let me do whatever I wanted. And she's just been this one constant person that's not changed in my life. So as well as helping me to speak for myself, she's been a support to help me cope. I had to suddenly do my finances. I didn't even know what my PIN numbers were. I'd never had to do it. So I had a lucky guess, fortunately. So she helped me with all these new responsibilities, all these new problems that I was facing alone without my mum for the first time in my life. And she's been a really, really good, I suppose, support friend, but a role model again. It's someone I can look up to that is going to show me the way, but not do it for me. And I want just to finish with, my advocates have been my heroes, and I don't say that lightly. And I think all of you that are advocates are heroes, and you can be your client's hero. You have the power to make a big impact on your client's life, and I know from my advocates have on mine. So be your client's hero, listen, support them, speak up for them, be a role model, but just be their hero. You can and you do make a difference. Thank you.